What we have waited all fall for is finally here. Ladies and gentlemen, I dressed up for this very special occasion today. I even brought out the SEC tie because it is none other than SEC Championship weekend. Alabama versus Florida, Kyle Trask versus Mac Jones, Nick Saban versus Dan Mullen in what should be one of the best games in college football all year. I am so excited for this game. I've been waiting forever for this game. The SEC Championship is upon us in a year that has been so crazy, so inconsistent. The fact, if you look back in July or August, the fact that we're even at this point is simply amazing, and I could not be more happy to bring you guys my picks and my predictions for today for this amazing game. I cannot wait to get into it, so let's get into it. Alabama versus Florida. This is going to be a good video, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back, relax, listen in, because what I'm about to tell you, in my opinion, I think is right. This is going to be who wins the SEC Championship and ultimately will make the playoff, so let's get into it. Alabama, first let's take a recap and look at what Alabama's done this year. Obviously, the 10-0 Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the best teams in all of college football, if not the best in my opinion. They are the best. They swept their schedule, beat everyone. They beat Missouri, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Auburn, LSU, and then finished the season off with a 52-3 win versus Arkansas before they go on to play the Florida Gators this weekend. Some of their more impressive wins, obviously the Georgia game is up there because that was supposed to be like the game of the year. You had the 2 versus the 3 seed. That game finished 41-24 for Alabama after that game being tied at half. From that point on, that's when you really saw Alabama's defense start to progress throughout the season. They got a lot better throughout the season. You look at the first couple games, giving up 19 against Missouri, giving up 24 versus Texas A&M, and then giving up 48 versus Ole Miss. But after that Georgia game, after that second half of the Georgia game, you really saw Alabama's defense start to tighten up and push the scores a lot lower than what they were before. So Alabama's defense adjusted very well after that. And obviously the main part of the success for this Alabama team has to be their offense. I could name you a bunch of different weapons on this team. First off, Heisman hopeful, Mac Jones, quarterback, going up. He's thrown up 3,321 yards already this season. How many touchdowns has he thrown for? 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This guy has a 76.4 completion percentage. This guy, I'm telling you, is going to make some money in the NFL. I cannot wait to see where he goes in the NFL draft. I cannot wait to see how the Heisman plays out. I cannot wait to see a lot of things about this guy, Mac Jones, because he is the most consistent deep ball passer in all of college football right now. Now, you may account that to the fact that he has the best wide receivers in all of the game, always open deep. Yes, that could be a factor, but you still got to put the ball in the hands of the receiver, and no one has been better than that this season than Mac Jones. Looking at the running back position, Najee Harris, able to go with such weapons around him. He's still able to put up 1,000 yards. He's rushed for 1,084 yards this season. He has 22 touchdowns this season, including, I think he had like a 5-touchdown game or something like that. He has 183 rushes and a 5.9 average per carry with a long of 42 this season. Let's take a look at the receiver side of the ball, because I told you, Mac Jones has some of the best wide receivers in all of the game right now. And the guy who I actually picked as my Heisman, he's the guy who I want to see win the Heisman this season. I have a guy by the name of Devontae Smith, wide receiver number 6 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you want to watch that video, I just released it yesterday. Actually, click up there to go watch my why Devontae Smith should win the Heisman video, because I put a lot of time and effort into that, and I'm pretty sure you Alabama fans will really enjoy that. Devontae Smith, 1,327 yards, 83 receptions, 16 average per catch, and a 15 touchdowns on the season. He also has 1 on special teams and 1 rushing, so that's a total of 17 different touchdowns for Devontae Smith this season. Another guy, one of the most electric players in all of college football, a guy by the name of Jalen Waddle, who did deal with injuries this season. 25 receptions, 557 yards, 22.3 average, and 4 touchdowns. He also had a big role in some of the special teams units for Alabama. He was able to take a kickoff return or a punt return back, I remember, in the Tennessee game after watching that. This guy is absolutely electric. And then a guy from Toronto, or actually Brampton, Ontario, where I'm from. I'm from Toronto. We're both from Ontario. John Mechie has really broken in the scene as a freshman for this Alabama receiving corps. He has 40 receptions, 720 yards for 6 touchdowns. Mechie is a guy I love watching play, not only because he's Canadian like me, but he's just a fun guy to watch play, and he has done really well for a freshman. Lots of good talent coming up for Alabama in the next coming seasons in John Mechie. This team all over the board has talent everywhere on the offensive side of the ball. Their offensive line is amazing. They've really carried in the rushing game and giving Mac Jones lots of time and protection to be able to pass the ball. Because if we're being honest, Mac Jones isn't the most athletically capable quarterback. He's not a Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be like Deshaun Watson. He's not going to be like, who else is really good? Kyler Murray. His athleticism isn't terrible, but it's not at that level as Lamar and Kyler, guys like that. So having good protection has really helped him in becoming a pocket passer. So this offensive line has done great this year, especially blocking for Najee Harris, making him get over 1,000 yards rushing. And they've had almost 2,000 rushing yards on the season. They had about 1,900 rushing yards so far this season. Lots to look up for Alabama in the future, and lots to look up for in this game. There's multiple reasons why Alabama should become the victors in this game. But before I get into my actual prediction and the game analysis, I have to go take a look over at the Florida Gators side of the football because, ladies and gentlemen, from what I had witnessed on last Saturday against LSU, that was one of the craziest games, if not the craziest game in all of college football this season. Like, that was absolutely insane. But let's go through Florida's season this season. They have wins against Mississippi, South Carolina, Missouri, Georgia, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Obviously, the biggest one being against Georgia. That was their first time beating them in a couple of years. I'm pretty sure it was either 3 or 4 years since Florida had beat Georgia in Jacksonville. So that was a huge win for them. Also, picking up a win in Tennessee was pretty big. Missouri, that's a win Missouri actually is a really good team. Mississippi, that's also another team that was really good this season. But the losses are absolutely key for Florida. And this is a season that Florida could have easily ran the table and won out all of their games. They lost to 21 Texas A&M, who's currently the 5th team in the nation. Texas A&M is a really good football team, but that was a 3-point game. Florida could have definitely come out of Kyle Field in that game with a win, no question about it. Especially that game got added to the schedule. I think that even stings a bit more because if you would have had a regular schedule, Florida would not have been playing Texas A&M in this season. And then the almighty LSU game. What happened Saturday? I'm a Gamecocks fan. As you can see behind me, I'm a big South Carolina Gamecocks fan. I'm not even really that big of an LSU fan. I was just a big Joe Burrow fan and a big fan of the team last year, so I had the jersey. What I watched, even being a South Carolina fan, I'm not supposed to like Florida, but I sat in my chair completely shocked. Like, I didn't pick up my phone for a good while in that game. Like, especially as a teenager, picking up your phone, like, that's something that we do all the time, but that was a game where I just had my phone down and my eyes were absolutely glued to the TV. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I honestly felt for Florida fans. I felt for Florida. I felt for McPherson when that kick sailed wide. The fact that they lost on a Marco Wilson chuck shoe 20 yards downfield, I felt so bad just for everything that Florida fans have had to go through. And just what the team has gone through this season, how close they got to being able to have a chance to make it to a playoff game is so hard. It's going to be such a slight chance for them to make the playoff now. But this Florida team is good nonetheless. Let's take a look at some of their stats. So obviously the defensive side of the ball has been the weak spot for Florida this season. This team has had problems all over the defensive side of the ball. If they've lost any games this season, it's because their defense really hasn't been able to show up when their offense has been playing really good. Although in the LSU game, it was LSU's defense that was really able to come up key in that game and make some stops, force some turnovers against Kyle Trask in that Florida Gators offense to be able to come out with the win in that one. But let's look at Kyle Trask, who's also going up for the Heisman this season. 3,717 yards throwing. He has 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he has a 70.2 completion percentage. Dameon Pierce is the leading rusher, 441 yards. That's been another weak spot for Florida this season, the rushing game. As good as their offense is, you'd like to see the rushing stats a lot better than what they are. Kadarius Toney is the leading receiver for the Gators, 831 yards, 62 receptions for 9 touchdowns. You have Kyle Pitts, who is the most electrifying tight end and one of the best players, one of my favorite players in all of college football. 36 receptions, 641 yards, 17.8 average, 11 touchdowns. This is a tight end that plays like a wide receiver. Honestly, this guy, I cannot wait to watch him in the NFL. He's going to go high off the draft boards. He's a guy that I'm really excited to see at the next level. Other than that, you got Grimes, 34 receptions for 8 touchdowns. Copeland, 429 yards, 3 touchdowns. Florida is a very one-dimensional offense, but it's worked for them all season, so there's no reason why they should stop now. Their strength is in the passing game. There's no way around it. Only having your leading rusher at 441 yards, and then after that, Malik Davis is at 277. The rushing game isn't your strength, and you know that. You're a very one-dimensional team in the fact of the passing game. You're big on the deep ball. You got playmakers in Kadarius Toney, who's one of the most athletic guys that you'll have out on that field on Saturday. Kyle Pitts, best tight end in the league. He's a guy that you're going to find in a lot of those situations in the red zone and maybe even running seam routes down the middle. He's a guy that you're going to have to attack the middle of the field for Florida. That's going to be key in this game. So let's get into my actual predictions and everything. That was my recap of both of these teams in this season. 2 very impressive seasons for both teams, but it is time to get into the actual prediction. What we all came here for. Who am I going to take, Alabama or Florida? First, we got to get into the actual stats and everything of this game. What ESPN, the matchup predictor and everything, the spread, the over-under, all that stuff. ESPN right now has an 89 to 11% chance that Alabama will come out of Atlanta with a win and win another SEC championship under Nick Saban. Right now, the spread is 17 for Alabama. That is awfully high for a conference championship. And the over-under, listen to this, over-under 74.5 points. That is a lot and a lot and a lot of points scoring for both of these teams. That puts each team, they're averaging each team at 37.5, basically. 37.5 points, 37 points, somewhere around there. That's a lot of points for each team to be scoring. So this is going to be a very high-scoring game nonetheless. We know what we're getting from Florida's defense. We know what we're getting from both of the offenses. But who am I going to take here? Florida's coming off a terrible loss to an LSU team. But in my opinion, that could actually help them in some sense. The fact that they're going to come out angry. They're going to come out this, that, or whatever. They're going to come out with a different chip on their shoulder because they did go out and lose that game. And they're going to be fighting for their lives to make it into that playoff game. But the fact of the matter is, you got to look who's on the other side of the ball. You got to look at the talent on the other side of the ball. You got to look at the versatility on the other side of the ball. Alabama could beat you with all 3 factors of the game, whether that's on offense, whether that's on defense, or whether that's on special teams. Florida, very elite offense, but I think that the one-dimensional factor of Florida's offense is really going to hurt them in this case because Alabama's defense is going to play to that. They're going to play some zone coverage. They're going to drop back their safeties. They're going to just make the quarterback think at everything because they know that they're not rushing the ball. So you're going to have a lot of double teams on guys like Toney and Pitts. You're going to bring the pressure on the quarterback a lot. Kyle Trask is going to have a lot of pressure in his face all the time because you're going to make Florida make those short passes. You don't want them going long or whatever. So you're going to make Florida make short passes, and you know the rushing game isn't going to be there for Florida. So Alabama, I think, is in a way more comfortable position defensively than Florida's defense. Florida's defense has been very weak at points this season, and you're going up against Alabama, who has some amazing wide receivers. They have the best running back in all of college football, in my opinion, catching and rushing wise. This guy can do it all. Najee Harris. You have a very good offensive line. You're not going to be able to know what Alabama's going to be throwing at you at all times, which Florida, I think you kind of can. You can kind of predict what they're going to give you on the offensive side of the ball, and all Alabama's defense has to do is react to that and just know what they're doing, know that the passing game is going to be there, and just take that away from them. Because if you force Florida to rush the ball a ton in this game, I think Alabama's going to come out and run away with a win easily in this one. I am going to take Alabama in this game, although I think Florida's going to make this a lot closer of a game than many of you think. First half, first quarter, I have this being a tie game or a 7-point game. I don't think that Alabama's really going to come firing out of the gates as many of you think, in the fact that they're going to run up the scoreboard. It's going to be a 24-0 game at half. I think Florida will make it close in the first half, But towards the second half is where you're really going to see the defensive separation and where you're going to have Alabama's offense just being able to take over Florida's defense, and then Florida's offense will not be able to produce enough against an Alabama defense who is really good to make the score close in this game. So I'm going to predict, if I had to put up a score in this one, I'm going to go 52 to, let's say, 35 for Alabama in this game. It's going to be closer in the first half than a lot of people think, in my opinion, but towards the end of the game is where you're really going to start to see Mac Jones just heat up and this whole Alabama offense just really light up the Florida defense. And then Florida, the key for Florida in this game is you're going to have to get some turnovers. You're going to have to get some defensive stops. If you're able to do that, Florida will have a chance in this game. But just seeing the way that Florida's played all season, a team that I have been really high on in Florida all season, a team that I want to see win, I just honestly cannot pick them against Alabama. Alabama does have the number 1 next to their name for a reason. So give me the Alabama Crimson Tide in this one. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I appreciate it. Like down below. Give me your predictions for this game. Give me your score prediction. Give me who you think's gonna win. Like the video. Subscribe definitely. I'll be doing my SEC Awards show coming up post that game. I don't know when, but it will be coming sometime after that game. Thank you for watching, and as always, come back next time.